Hello, ladies. You guys, I am so excited. This episode is going to be so juicy. So I need you guys to sit down and let it just soak in because this woman that I have today, she is the queen of the healing hot girl. She has been one of my clients and dear friends for quite a while now. She has been on such a journey where she's pivoted and chose herself over and over again. And I thought that she would be absolutely amazing for this podcast because scaling is not just choosing the things in your business, choosing the next strategy or the next step. Sometimes it's choosing, well, every single time it's choosing yourself. And that's what I really want you guys to get from today's episode. Like, she's so funny, she's so authentic, and we have so much to talk about. But here is the girl who scales herself, who chooses herself. She's the spicy, she's the love, she's the energy, she's the healing hot girl, Miss Ashlie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. I love us. Like, we're both kind of on a very similar journey right now, and we have been busy bees, and like we've been trying to make this work for weeks. So we finally did it today, and I'm so proud of both of us for just going for it. So
Yes.
we're doing this run reel. We had a little prep, but we love it because that's how we do things. We go with the flow. So, Ashlie, tell us a little bit about you, your background in business, life, how you got started, and then let's get into the juiciness.
Okay. Well, I'm Ashley. I live in Washington State. I am 25 years old at the moment. Um, I got started in the beauty industry at the ripe age of 16. And so I have already been in the industry for 9 years, and I've owned my own business for 4.5 of those. I found Helena, I'll say. I found her in 2022, and it has been the most beautiful partnership. Um, and we have had such a journey together, but I would say like over the past year and a half has been the biggest transformation where I've unlocked the healing hot girl, where I have truly like stepped into myself, stepped into my body again. And I think that I have found my power and I'm like found where I am today. And it's a beautiful place to be right now. But yeah, let's get into it.
Ooh, I love that I found my power. I like the last few years of knowing you, like I feel like it's just been, it's like breaking you open every single year, just a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. And I feel like this year was like, oh, she's been so juicy for you. Like, it's
Mhm.
been for both of us, I feel like one of the most stressful but most beautiful years of our lives. And the fact that you've been in business for almost 9 years, or no, for
Yeah.
9 years, almost 10
Yeah.
years is insane. Like, you're a whole different woman than you were at 16, even in 2022 when we first met. And
Mhm.
so I want to talk about like this year specifically, okay?
Mhm.
Like, tell the audience, like, what kind of mountains did you have to climb to choose yourself and to like break that part of you open? Because she's been a booked up
Mhm.
hairstylist. Like, you went viral on Instagram. When was that? Like 2020,
21.
2021?
2021. Yeah.
Yeah, so like all these like metrics of success that you see on paper, she's hit. But then it was like, okay, what's her next thing? Finding her voice and her power. But I feel like there were quite a few things that happened where you're like, oh, this is me choosing myself and I have to do
Mhm.
this. So I want to talk about that today.
Yes. Well, I think I will start in 2021 then. So it all started when I started creating Instagram Reels. I ended up going viral, which, yay, great. I gained an audience out of nowhere, and I was like, what do I want to do with this? So I was like, okay, I am going to educate other hairstylists. And that kind of started me down just the spiral of being in the education space. And I created hair content for years. And as I was starting with Helena, we were creating hair programs together and working on hair related things. And throughout the process where I was like, what do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? I really realized and took a deep, deep look at what I desired in life. And I realized I do not want to be just a hairstylist and I did not want to educate to just the beauty industry. So I think that was one of the most pivotal moments that happened actually last year was I released hair from the online business. I still do hair currently, but it's for the people because when I looked at it, I was like, I love hair for the people. And that's what I desired. That's what I craved. And then that, along with a divorce, I got married super young. I got married at 20 and divorced 2 years later. And it was a very, very interesting time, especially like with our coaching, because it was like, it was not about the business there. It was like, how is Ashlie going to be okay during this? How is Ashlie going to nurture herself during that process? How is Ashlie going to learn how to love herself again and put herself first? And I think that was the biggest hurdle last year was I had to break myself wide open. I had to let everything that I thought was going to happen and was supposed to happen, I had to let that all crumble. And in that year, I got divorced. I like was going through so many different emotions, so many different things. And I retired every single one of my hair programs and made that switch to just figure out what the hell I wanted to do. And it has evolved into just such a beautiful journey of me showing up as authentically myself and showing up as the version of myself that is the most me that I could possibly be, and encouraging women to dive deeper, to be bolder, to say the thing, to be the most authentic version of themselves, because I want to be able to like meet me in person. I want you to know that like you're getting this same thing online. I just might be crazier in in person. I might just be a little bit more hectic, a little bit more chaotic, but in the best way. And I think that it really has hit me over the last month because I had two different people in two different, very different areas of my life tell me like, isn't it amazing how much you're in your body now? Like, isn't it crazy the energy that has shifted? And someone else told me, she was like, I can just tell that your aura is so much more vibrant and I can't wait to see it in person. And I think that that was like the testimony to all of the work that I've done over this past year and a half, all of the changes, the transformations, the breaking myself open to like have the death of my past and have this new birth and new era, but like the rose has been so symbolic to me. And I remember like the biggest thing that stuck out to me was when I was reading an oracle card last year. And it said that the rose has to be encapsulated in the bud in complete darkness in order to be able to bloom. And that is what inspired. I have a little rose tattoo on my wrist that I got because of that. And I think that this year is my bloom.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I got like chills. This year is my bloom. I love that so much. And that's the best visual, like seeing like your journey and being so close to it and what you said about the rose and like having to go through that darkness. I feel like so many women can relate because even though on paper you were doing these things and you could have been so successful, but it wasn't you. It was this past
Mhm.
version that was hustling and that thought that she had to do these things to be happy. And when you got those things, you're like, wait a minute, there's more though. There's another bloom. Maybe like I need to keep pushing this. I need to keep choosing myself and be braver to choose myself and to speak my truth. And I want you guys to know when Ashlie started doing this, like her community came closer to you. Like they were like, oh my God, she's speaking about things that other women aren't speaking about. They're too afraid of, or they're hiding that part of themselves. And I feel like you bloomed up and you're like, here I am. Like, here I am. You can join for the ride or you can get off. And this is how it's going to go because I'm finally choosing myself. And at such a young age as an entrepreneur, to have such a strong hold on your voice and to like know that you can rely on it and other people see that too and they can rely on it, that's you scaling. That's you blooming. That's you creating this whole new universe and this whole new life based off of what you want the story to be instead of what everyone else wanted it to be. Your ex, your past community, your past friends, whoever, where you molded yourself to be that. And now you're like, wait a minute, that wasn't Ashlie. This is her now, and she's blooming into that.
Yes. It's been
Oh,
a beautiful, beautiful transformation
oh my
for
God.
sure.
I love that. So I want to talk a little bit more about that because I feel like the women that I've been coaching and like talking to, everyone they're on the edge of like choosing the next thing, whether it's breaking up with someone or choosing themselves in business or pivoting or whatever it is, and they're at that edge. Like, how do you find the braveness every day to release the care of what other people think of you?
Ooh, to release what other people think
Hmm.
of you.
Yes. Like
I
the
think that
not giving a shit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that there's like two different versions of this. There's, the online version, and then there's the people around you version.
Mhm.
And so I'll talk about the online version first because a lot of people are afraid to show up for themselves, for their business, whatever business that they have, but most people have an online presence. Most people are terrified of getting hate or slandered on the internet. And I have, of course, had that happen. And I think that what keeps me not giving a shit on at least internet platforms is the fact that they don't know my context.
Mm.
Like knowing context allows someone to understand who you are. The people who are going to judge you online, even if you knew them in the past, they don't know your current context. They might not know every single thing that you have been through. Like when I was showing up before I even talked about my divorce, everyone was like, "What's going on? Like she's different, like something is going on," but they didn't know the context. And I think that when you release that hold, where like that's just a reflection of them, let it be. And I think that when there was one voice memo to Helena that I said when I was getting a bunch of hate on a video, and I was like, let it grow to 1 million. Like, let these views grow to 1 million because okay, that's just putting more light and showing more authenticity for me. And it's going to bring in the people that are meant to be there. And then for in person, I feel like it is a very interesting thing. So when you are choosing yourself, when you are going into the next version of yourself, you have to let the old version die. And when the old version dies, people are going to be grieving that.
Mhm.
People are going to grieve the old version of you that no longer exists. That version of you only now exists in their head. You are not that person anymore. And there is trials. There's some, ickiness with that when you have changed so much to where they no longer know you. And some people will get to know this new version of you, and that gets to be beautiful. And some of them you do have to release and let them live with that old version of you in their heads. Some people that knew me 4 years ago, they do not have a good, view of me because I was a completely different person.
Mhm.
But if they met me now, if they have that opportunity, they get to know who I am, and then that version can change. And I think it's a beautiful, heartbreaking process because you do have to allow people that are no longer aligned to exit your life.
Mhm.
And but the beautiful thing about a magnet is that it repels some and it draws other people really close. So, in this process, yes, I have lost a lot of relationships, but the people that I have attracted into my space, the people that have magnetized towards me, are 10 times better. They are higher caliber. They are aligned people that are helping me be better. And
Mhm.
I think that that is all that you can hope for.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Like being the magnet, but also like understanding that you are going to have so many deaths in this lifetime, and that you will also grieve that past version. and you will grieve parts of her. And it's like this, like, I feel like with heartbreak, and, we're both been through that recently, and also with pivoting and like dying and then basically recreating ourselves. At least for me, there's beauty in it though. And I feel like
Hmm.
people get stuck on, oh my God, I'm losing so many people. But I'm like, but you're making room to gain so many people or new opportunities or clients. And I think the best thing, and we were just talking about this on Slack together right before this call, like you're reading a new book and like you just open up the page. I don't even know if you read it yet. And it was like, you need to go like at least get two like attractive guys numbers a day. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's like building your web. You're building these new connections. And I'm doing the same thing where I'm placing myself where I want to meet better people. I want to be in a different environment, different space, and I'm becoming that magnet so then I can attract them, whether it's, a male or, a community or clients or whatever. It doesn't even matter. I'm able to pull those people towards me by just putting myself out there, where I feel like in the past, like little Helena didn't want to do that. She wanted to just stay home and do her thing. And she was afraid of the world. And I feel like when
Hmm.
you break yourself open, you're not letting fear be in the driver's seat anymore. You're putting yourself back in there and you're saying, this is where we're going and this is how we're going to do it. It's going to be bumpy. We're climbing some mountains, but the scenic view is going to be amazing. We're going to make some pit stops. But fear isn't going to be sitting there idling the car, questioning what you should do next, or making you wait around for someone else to drive. Like, this is your life. And I think when you take that power back and stop putting it into other people or things or what you think you should be doing, that's when you start to see the movement and the growth. And that's when you find that raw beauty with saying, oh, I get to do this. I get to heal. Like, it's an honor to scale myself and recreate myself instead of feeling like you're in this corner and you have nowhere to go.
Hmm. Most definitely. It's definitely an interesting path and one that I think that once you're in it, you're like, oh, okay, this is happening. But also the fear and anxiety as much are less because you're like, okay, but I get to control this. I get to rewrite my narrative. I get to discover whatever it is I'm meant to discover. And I think that putting yourself out there and doing things that make you uncomfortable, like it will change your life. Like for me, I made a divorce bucket list for myself. And I challenged myself to have it done a year after the divorce is final. So I have a couple more months. I have three more things on this list. And it was things that like I had been ignoring in my relationship, but the things that I put on this list were all things that I wanted to do that lit me up, that got me excited. And that was kind of the first step for me was like, how can I find excitement in this journey again? How can I find what feels like the most alive? And completing it now, I'm like, oh, honey, we're almost there. Like, it's just fun now.
I love that. So it's like, yes, I remember when you created that. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that because I'm a girl who loves checklists and like to-do lists and all the things and all my dreams and all, like I love checking shit off. But then it gives you goals and it's based off of like, I'm gonna pick every single day to be the most wild, free version of myself and to feel alive. And no matter if it's like you putting stuff off in your business or life, like you're looking at that list and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna actually just take action instead of sitting here in the fear and questioning things and going over it again and again in my head. Like you already know what you need to do on the inside. There will be podcasts or people that help you like reaffirm that or help pull that idea out. And that's why you have them, but it was always inside of you. And with your bucket list and also with like the Healing Hot Girl bingo, like it's been
Mhm.
so much fun because it gives you like this sense of like community within yourself of, oh, I can do these things. I can do whatever the hell I want and whatever I desire at any time. And that's your drive force. And then you build around it and you're building the people, you're building the connections, you're building the opportunities, and you're building the business too. And
Mhm.
so it's like it's not just about the goals anymore. It's about like what you want to create and how you want to heal, how you want to scale, and how you want to take this one, Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, she says, "What are you going to do with this one precious life?" And I love that so much because it's like, what are you gonna do? We're gonna die someday. It could be in a few years, it could be tomorrow, it could be whenever. Hopefully we'll live so long, but what if we don't? And what if we do? I want to be the woman that has so many stories to tell because I chose myself every single day instead of waiting around for, the clients to come or for someone to choose me.
I want to be the little old lady hippie that like has no filter and you just like want to be around her to like see what's going to come out of her mouth. That's who I want to be. I
You want to
want
be
to be
the
the,
unhinged grandma,
yes,
everyone's grandma.
yes, the unhinged like spiritual hippie grandma who's like gonna do Reiki on you and then like, like tell you about her golden days.
Yes. And
I
you're like,
want a life that is lived, not just like a life that I was like, oh, I'm gonna like do this and I'm gonna grow my business and then no, I want to live my life, honey. That's scaling.
yes. That is like living my life is scaling. And that's a huge part of scaling where I feel like so many women, they're like, okay, Elena, what's the next strategy? What's the next thing? I'm like, how are you doing though? Like, are you actually enjoying this? Are you living? Because that's why you have a business is to live. And that's why you also created it. It's because you had this idea that you wanted to, put into this world. And I want to talk about that for a second because you have pivoted and I want to talk about pivoting too, because I feel like people make it such into a, oh, what's the word for it? Like an extreme thing when in reality
Mhm.
it's really not. It's just something where you're choosing something else and then you're building around it and you're taking all those skill sets that you had and putting it towards this new thing. So let's talk about the last like maybe like 6 months of you pivoting and like sitting within the pivot and where you're at now because you're still sitting in it. We've tried different things, but I want us to talk about because I know that there have been some feelings that have come up, and it is uncomfortable to sit and not know like the 100% the next thing.
hmm I think that with pivoting, the biggest thing is being able to release control.
Mhm.
And for me, I love control. I love a plan, but I also do not do good with a plan. I am so intuitive, so creative that if you tell me, okay, here are 10 things that you need to do, it's 50-50 if I'm gonna actually get it done or not. And so I think that allowing myself to sit in the pivot and just sit there and like be curious, ask yourself why. And I think that I can't picture a moment in my life where there won't be a pivot
Mhm.
because you change and you evolve your entire life. Like, and if you look at a 9 to 5 person, how many jobs do they go through? Like, some people are switching jobs every 2 years, switching to a different team, getting management promotions, like all of that. Why can't you pivot in your own business? Like,
Yes.
why can't you? And I think that it's as long as you are pivoting to align with who you are, you can't go wrong. Like, if something does not work out with a pivot, okay, great. We learned a lesson. We tried that. And now let's try something else. As long as you are making the most aligned decision, like your pivot can't go wrong. And I always tell myself because there is a lot of times and a lot of people that live in regret. And one of the things that I really live by is that you made the decision based on the truth that you held at that time.
Mhm.
So when you left a job, you had a set of truths, things that you believed that you made your decisions on. Looking back 3 years, 4 years from now, do I agree with some of the decisions that I made? No, but I can't regret that because that was a decision that I made at that time based on the truth that I held. And I think that that is something that gives you so much permission in your pivot because, yeah, your truth can change. You can learn new information, you can grow, you can become more yourself, you can become better, and then you pivot. You change
Yeah.
your course of action and you just keep on going.
Yes, and like you should be pivoting. It's so healthy. And going back to like what you said earlier, like with you wanting a plan, but then also like you can't function with a plan. Like Ashlie has been one of my I love all my clients, but like I love you so much because it allowed me as a coach to evolve too, where I'm like, okay, the girlie wants a plan, but she really doesn't. Okay. So what we're gonna do this instead. And like it's so cool to like understand that you can work so differently than other women, and it's okay if you have different needs and to find those different needs somewhere else. Like if you're in right now, if you're in a pivot or if you're wanting to pivot, find someone where you see like you have the same values and she's able to see you. I think that's a huge thing is to feel seen as a woman while she's transforming and to have someone understand it. Maybe they don't always have to agree with it, but they understand what you need and how to serve you in that time. And I feel like for you, it was so amazing to see you go through these pivots and to learn how you operate as a woman and to see your brain and how like you think. And like it's so cool to see that as your coach because I'm like, oh my God, Ashlie, like you you are very aligned and very in tune and very emotional. When you want something, you're like, this is it. And that this is how it's gonna go. But to get there, it's like we have to play around in this creativity in this field and allow you to have the space to just think of it and go through the ideas. And maybe that's the strategy of letting you sit in it in the uncomfy, giving yourself space and just looking at and being like a little scientist and being like, okay, what actually makes sense and what do I want to do? And then we just place something around it. And I think
Mhm.
that was the coolest thing with each one of your pivots because I feel like we both learned more and more about what you need and how you operate and getting to the point now where it's like, okay, like we are pivoting, we're in the middle of it, but we're doing it differently than the way that you did it like maybe 2 years ago.
1000%. And it's like, do we know where the pivot's going? No. And
That's
that's
the fun
beautiful.
in it.
And
Yes.
that's beautiful. And like now it's just like, okay, how can I have the most fun? How can this be sexy? How can this be juicy? How can like we use all of these fun descriptive words and like have me be in something that like doesn't feel like it's draining. Like that's where I need to be. Like my energy is fleeting. Like I can give you the exact astrology placement as to why. Um but I get all of this energy. It's like that when you first light a match, that like baby fire, that little like poof
Yep.
of energy, but then it's gone. So I need to like harness it and like we both know that. And so I think it's been beautiful to see that evolve and how I mean, I'm learning and how you're coaching and how we're rocking with the pivot all the
We
time.
are. And that's why like we need women. Like it's been so magical to like have you as my client turn friend now and like the partnership that we created. Like it's so beautiful and amazing. And I'm like, every woman deserves this.
Mm.
And you guys have to go find your women. That's your to-do list to do from this podcast. Go find your women, go find the communities, like put yourself in the places that where you want to expand and grow into. And I know that we have like a few minutes left. So I want to know what's like a spicy question? Because we talked about choosing you. We talked like more about healing too in the pivots. Maybe like Ashlie, like what I want let's think about like what are your big dreams in this life? Like let's talk about the
Mm.
big things real quick. Like
Okay.
but
Okay.
let's do it because
All
I
right.
feel like I want to hold space for that and I want to normalize other women who are maybe thinking about their big dreams and they think they're too big or they don't know where to start. But let's just like
Mm.
where not really where you're going, but like what dreams do you have in this life?
I think that my dreams are different than most people's too,
Yes.
because I can say that I used to be someone who works after goals, and then there is a death that comes once you hit all of them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Oh, this is gonna be so
I
spicy, you
I
guys. Oh my.
wanted the house, I wanted the car, I wanted the marriage, and then look, all of those crumbled. I hit all of them and then great, different. I sold my house. I got divorced. I got a well, I still drive my dream car. I love that car. I'm not getting rid of it. Um, but my goals have shifted so much because they're not material. Like, yes, I would love to live in a little cottage on the lake and like be able to renovate it. That would be beautiful. But that is not the goal that I have. My goal is to have the most fun in this life. My goal is to live this life. My goal is to have safety, stability, security, ease, freedom. Like my goals are feelings. And I think that's what makes it beautiful now is that I don't have to hit some crazy goal. Like, yes, I would love to have like a certain amount of number month. That would be cool. But it's cool because it gives me the safety. It gives me the freedom. It gives me the stability. I crave and I desire the feelings that come from those things, not the actual item or
Mm,
the landmark, whatever, the trademark, whatever you want to
mm,
call it. It's the goals have completely shifted. And I think that a year ago, Ashley would have told you something very different.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm. I like you're not looking for the price tag anymore. You're
Mm-mm.
looking for how do I have so much depth within this life and these feelings? And whatever you're calling in that day or that year of this is what I want to live for, this is how I want to feel alive. I think that is so beautiful because it allows you to create out of passion and just like your most abundant self instead of you just aiming for a milestone that might at the end of the day not really mean anything. And I feel the same way. And I don't know if it's just because like of the society or the way that we grew up. I feel like younger me, like when I was first starting the business at 19 to like 23, it was and I still love luxury things, but it's different now. It's more like treatments or like I would love to travel, but it used to be purses and cars and this and that and all. And I was like, what? Like, and I did it. And then I wasn't happy because I'm like, oh, then I need the next thing. And it's almost this addiction of, okay, I did this and now I have to do this and this. And it's not really based off of how you feel. It's off of what you look like and what you want to be perceived as. And I think that's a huge shift. Maybe it's because our frontal like lobe developed and we're like, okay, like maybe this isn't it. But I love that. And I feel like we're seeing a shift with women too, because we all want to feel more alive and have like a deeper sense of ourselves and speak our truth and just to create and to feel things and to have so much fucking fun.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. And I think that, yeah, the frontal lobe is part of it, but I think that it's like I used to call myself a goal digger. Like I
Yes.
was like, I'm gonna hit my goals. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that.
Mhm.
And then it's completely shifted because when you're going after the things, you're chasing the feeling that it's gonna give you, but you don't know that that's what you're chasing. So what
Yeah.
if you only chase the feeling? You don't
Oh,
need the item.
and what if you still get the goals, but you're basing it everything off of the feeling? So then if you hit that whatever K month, it doesn't even matter because you're like, I know that I'm going to be happy no matter what because I'm always creating out of the feeling and I'm impacting out of the feeling. And then that's the strategy. And oh, this is so yummy. It's so good. That was a good question, Helena. Like, oh my God. I was like, wait a minute. I feel called to ask you this because I'm like, I feel like I need you to answer this, and this helped me too. So I know that so many women who are listening, they're like, oh yeah, yeah. I hope you guys are taking notes, by the way. Oh, I love it. Well, how can people connect with you and find you and be a part of your world and your life and to just be a part of your journey?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at It's Ashley Ann. I'll make sure that I give Helena the links to everything. I also have a podcast called the Bad Ash Podcast, and you can dive deeper with me there.
I love it. So good. Oh, it has been an honor. And I'm so happy that we did this today. It's
Yes,
been
thank you
so
so
good.
much for having me.
Yes, thank you, Ashley.